What is going on, everybody? This is episode 147 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host, who is just gathering her stuff. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
You wrote an article. Got something to eat. Good to go?
I feel real good.
All right. Yeah, well, that's good. We're hopefully all feeling in a better mood today because I was having a bit of a mood yesterday. And
Me too.
Today, it was one of those days. So hopefully today, I think the show actually went really well yesterday, but like beforehand.
I didn't have the best vibe. You didn't have the best vibe.
But we're working through it. It's one day at a time.
We push.
Exactly.
We push onward.
And we've got a guest host today filling in. Introduce, because you're definitely not Shane Cashman.
Thank God.
Introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, everyone. I bet you thought you were going to get Shane Cashman. Good news. Dane Fonts here.
No.
Marketing man extraordinaire. And the patron saint of White Boy Summer.
Also, I'm not 100% sure, but when we go to 3-camera mode, I think there's another name listed on there, but we'll have to see. I think Andrew's still there from when we did our review. We reviewed Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 6 earlier, and my gosh, oh God.
It was a doozy, as they say.
I don't know if you guys are watching that or have watched that, but it is what it is. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. I want to talk about Tom Cruise's comments that he has made since the release of Top Gun Maverick and how we can contrast them with what we have heard Chris Evans say and just the general tone of Disney as a production company and what Paramount is doing over there. And I want to talk about why I think that why one is working, one isn't. And then we're also going to talk, Mary's written an article about Elliot Page, who has a new character, same character, but is going through transition in season 3 of The Umbrella Academy. And we're going to talk about that. And we are also going to talk about PlayStation, right, Dane, and pulling out of Gamescom.
We will.
That is what we're going to talk about. All right. So if we're just ready, guys, I'm just going to get right into it because I want to kind of get started on this right away. Ready?
Let's go.
Okay. Dane?
I'd like to wait a little more, if that's okay with
Too
you.
bad. All right. Here we go. First of all, let's check the name. So it says, first article says, Top Gun Maverick crosses 900 million as its latest box office milestone, which is quite incredible. And I did have Andrew. Sorry. We're going to change it.
So if anything I say now would defame his character over mine?
Yes.
Okay, well.
I kind of like that.
Can't think of anything on the spot.
I thought of a lot of things, but nothing that can be said on air.
You love Kenobi.
Perfect. He'll love that.
I can't.
That'd be perfectly defamatory.
So what I want to talk about here is first, Top Gun Maverick has now passed $900 million at the box office. I do think that it's going to hit $1 billion. It's only in its 5th week now, and it's barreling towards that number quite fast. And I want to talk about his comments in relation to what Chris Evans had said about Lightyear, because Lightyear barely scratched 50 million this past week and is looking at about a 50% drop this week. And there's actually articles here that are saying that Top Gun could unseat and become number 1 again. Like it might beat Elvis for top grossing movie this year. I've got 2 estimates, one from Box Office Pro and one from Variety or a Deadline. Mm-hmm. They each kind of say different things, but I think their approaches to this process is why one resonates with one and why one resonates with the audience and one doesn't.
I was really surprised at how low the estimate for Elvis was.
30 million, I think I saw.
Are they saying for opening weekend?
Opening weekend.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that's extremely low.
I mean, it's 2022. Who gives a hell about Elvis?
Well,
you can say that, but also like biopics are just one after the other.
The Freddie Mercury one did really well.
That did really well.
The one with Rami Malek did really, really well.
Yeah.
So right here it says $900 million in latest box office. And I want to talk to this about, earlier I was saying to Mary, I said, I think that Tom Cruise's approach to this is the perfect example. If we were talking about competing ideologies, now stay with me, I believe that the capitalist approach that Tom Cruise takes here, as opposed to the ideological approach taken by Disney, which we'll talk about in the last article, proves why one has been successful so long and one is a tried and true method and one is not. So it says, Tom Cruise predicts a bright future for the film industry as Top Gun Maverick nears $1 billion. So he turned up at the ongoing Cine Europe exhibition, and he gave a speech in Barcelona, and he says basically, Top Gun Maverick is already Tom Cruise's highest-grossing film ever. It is now on track to put him in the $1 billion club as well, and the Hollywood veteran couldn't be more elated. Here's what he said. I came here just to thank you for everything. I know what it takes to do what you do. Thank you for allowing me to have the career I've had. I'm going to keep delivering these films for you. You know I'm here for you, and I know you're here for me. Thank you for your help on Top Gun, not just my movies, all movies. I want everyone to win. I see a bright future for all of us. Now, if you notice the language, a lot of people talk about the concept of inclusion. That is like the most inclusive statement I've heard in a very long time. And what I was thinking is when Chris Evans talks about how people who don't accept what they're doing with their movie are dinosaurs. Does he believe that? Probably. Did he need to say that and add the bad press to their film? No, I don't think he needed to do that. But there's ideology behind the Disney approach to these movies now, where they're willing to sacrifice movies for the sake of what they're, the message that they want to push in their films. And there's just a lot of humility and a lot of gratitude by what Tom Cruise said. Do I believe that he's actually a super humble and gracious person? Maybe.
I believe it. Everything I've heard from like actors talking about him is like he's super cool and makes people pasta.
I've
Makes
never
people
heard
pasta. Where do you hear that?
What's called the guy that played Ray Charles?
Jamie Foxx.
Yep.
Right?
Oh,
I believe. Yeah.
interesting.
So the idea here is that if I'm going to be cynical, which I always am, with whatever Chris Evans says, I'm going to take the cynical approach. Whether what Tom Cruise says, I'm going to take the cynical approach, or at the least the eyes wide open to the world approach to this stuff, right? And if I'm to believe that he's just saying it because he wants his movie to do well, it still means that he's delivering on something that audiences want to see. That's the capitalist in him. He doesn't care about the ideology behind his movie. He wants the movie to do well, and if what he's making is in line with what I believe is worth seeing on screen, then I'm going to get the movies that I want. You just can't delude yourself into thinking that these people are actually bastions of goodness, truth, and whatever else you tend to view the world as.
Well, yeah, I don't really care whether Tom Cruise is a good person.
Exactly.
Personally, I wouldn't guess that he is because
know, right?
he's a Scientologist. But
remember he also had the message at the beginning of the movie when it came out. When we went to see it, he gave that whole speech beforehand in the clip that was recorded before the movie, where he thanks people for coming back to the theaters. And he has a lot because he's a good actor. He has the ability to kind of emote a certain amount of humility and gravitas to what he's saying.
yeah, I can appreciate that. My cynical approach to this comment he made, though, is that he's talking about us and we and thank you to the
industry,
yes. Not the people who are supporting the movie necessarily.
But he has come out and made those comments.
Sure, yeah, totally.
So he is seems to be taking the approach that be gracious to all who support you.
Whereas it's unfair because Chris Evans has taken the approach of just trashing the audience.
He didn't need to, even if he believes that.
Making everything into a controversy that barely existed in the first place, a moral panic that was like a blip on the radar compared to what he framed it as.
And if you guys
he's been rewarded for. Chris Evans has been rewarded with so much praise and adulation for making inflammatory comments that were totally unnecessary.
But this is Dane's axiom. Whenever a celebrity makes a public statement that's overtly preachy and honestly kind of lame, it is usually not them. It is their absolutely reprehensible PR agent.
Okay, so you don't think that maybe Chris Evans, though I do believe Chris Evans probably believes what he's saying.
We can blame everything on PR teams, but at the end of the day, you're not being forced to make comments on social issues.
And for the people that don't remember, this is basically he said that he criticized the countries that decided not to show Lightyear because of the same-sex kiss that was in the movie, which was just a blip on it was literally blink and you miss it, as everyone said. And the funny thing about this is, had he just stayed quiet, that wouldn't have ruined the press cycle leading up to the movie.
It might have said more about his own faith in the movie being able to do well without him causing a big media circus.
Because they want to be able to blame us for it not working.
Right. But at the same time, they're going to keep up the PSYOP headlines that are like, Lightyear's doing fantastic, and it just shows that the Chinese box office is totally irrelevant.
I mean, it's also, it's, now that I, know the statement, it's not, it's not like, if he believes it, it's perfectly fine to say. But the thing is, I don't know. I don't know if like these things need to be said, like as you guys are saying, like every time. Like,
Yep.
do we like? Does every time like something does bad, do we need to browbeat people for like their non-tacit support of like everything and everything woke? Anything and everything. Sorry.
And here's the other thing. I don't think that that's why the movie failed. I don't think Chris
No.
Evans. I think it speaks to a specific approach that they take to the industry. One of which includes you, me, and the regular moviegoer. One of which demonizes you, me, and the regular moviegoer.
They're acting like there's some significant faction of people boycotting Lightyear
Exactly.
over this scene.
So it says, now this is the other article where they talk about the demographics of the people that went to see it in relation to Toy Story 4. Because I was pointing out to somebody, said they're like, maybe it's just Toy Story fatigue. I'm like, dude, Toy Story 4, which was arguably a movie that never needed to get made, still made $1 billion at the box office in 2019. It says Disney insiders privately point to mixed reviews from critics, at least for a Pixar offering, and less than rave reviews, rave audience scores, as well as marketing and brand confusion. People didn't know what the hell this movie was supposed to be. Right? I had to explain to you and to a couple of other people. I'm like, this is no, who is it? We had to explain this to not you, to somebody else when we were like, it's a movie about Buzz Lightyear.
It's in the Toy Story universe, but it's not about the toy Buzz Lightyear. It's about the man
who inspired the toy.
Yes.
And they like couldn't wrap their head around that. And I was like, that speaks to brand confusion. That's a problem on their part with the trailers, limiting the movie's ability to be humorous, making it more serious, and really not knowing where the heck your audience is supposed to come from. Because it says Pixar movies have always been known for attracting both younger and older audiences who don't have kids, but the family turnout for Lightyear was notably light. In 2019, 45% of ticket buyers from Toy Story 4 were kids and parents. Kids are notorious for being repeat viewers, which can propel a big screen movie to incredible multiple viewings. Fun fact: Top Gun Maverick, what was it? 16% saw it more than once. 4% of people saw it 4 times or more.
Wow.
I have a friend who's seen it 4 times.
Well, your friend needs help.
No, my friend is
And-
awesome. Okay.
Okay, well.
And that, but I'm
That's
saying,
interesting because it is weird. Like whenever I go out, I overhear like conversations mentioning this movie and recommending it, like people on their phone to their friends. You should
can't-
go watch Top Gun. Like
You can't buy that kind of publicity, that kind of press. That's why whenever a movie comes out now, I almost give no credence to like whatever they say about the box office until we see what that first week of viewers says, because that's when you can start to see whether the repeat viewings are going to come in.
And by the way, that's the kind of praise that only comes from, again, like having a serious cast of actors, respecting a project, respecting the source material, and non-pandering.
Yep.
Because like, unless you're, like of a particular inclination, like you're never gonna recommend something that's pandering. Because like if it's something that's pandering, it's being pandered, which is to say, the person that you would normally recommend it to is already made aware of it because it's meant like they're targeting you in specific. This is more like a mass appeal thing, and like it's a topic that really isn't in combat with anyone or anything. Thus, the word of mouth goes by the end of like the end product. It's like, hey, the end product was good, you should enjoy it. It's not like, hey, the message is profound and you should listen to it. It's like, I had popcorn, went with my girl, it was good, you should go.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate, I said before, but I'll repeat now, that even though they had the perfect opportunity or excuse to pander with it, because it's an older character who comes back to mentor younger people in his line of work, they could have made the plot center around him being clueless and making blunders, looking like a fool, getting taught about how the world works now by younger people, being condescended to. They didn't do that. And then they also had a perfect excuse to get political because it's the military.
Yep.
They could be fighting against any enemy you choose, but they didn't do that either. Now, I don't want to praise it just because, well, there isn't something blatantly wrong with it.
Yeah.
But they did actually have an engaging story.
And so this weekend, what they're saying here is at the high end of predictions, Elvis is looking to make about 38 million. The other predictions I saw between 30 and 32. Some are still predicting that Maverick could actually come out on top this weekend with 30 million. And then the other ones were seen as like 29 million for Elvis, or 20 million for Elvis and 29 million for Dominion. This one says $38 million for Elvis, 38 million for Elvis, and then they're talking about 31 for Jurassic World Dominion and 30 for Top Gun Maverick. But it's in like week 5 or week 6 now.
Well, here's my prediction as to why. Tom Cruise, like, his reputation is that of a leading man.
Yeah.
In every way that you want to take.
Do you think of Chris Evans that way? Do you think of Chris Evans?
Absolutely
that way?
not.
Okay.
And here's why. Number one, he's known to do his own stunts. And if you've seen the Mission Impossible movies, like literally the marketing for all those movies this is how Tom Cruise like mortally injured himself throughout the film.
Most of the honest trailers for all the Mission Impossible movies now are just talking about how it's a Tom Cruise, like it's his like long drawn out attempt at like ending his own life.
For real.
They think he's nuts and that he's just continuing to try. I'm sure he's very safe when he's doing those stunts.
But he has probably thought about it and been like, that would be a cool way to go out.
Maybe. And it would.
Yeah.
So you think that Tom Cruise kind of invokes the idea of the leading man more than most people?
He's a guy's guy, you know. He dates hot chicks. He does stunts. He drives cool cars, you know.
He showed up to the premiere in a helicopter. Yeah.
He tells Matt Lauer to shut up. Like it's all so good.
He's a lot better as a leading man than Chris Evans and like other people his age, like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I would disagree with DiCaprio because I just think he's a better actor. But my thing is that he's like what, almost 60?
Yeah. Tom Cruise is, I think he's 50 something.
Right. So like he can't break his legs doing stunts forever. Like my fear is like I don't think there is a single man poised to inherit what he has.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single guy that's
I don't think they let them be that way enough in Hollywood. Like the guys aren't allowed to be. I guess Jason Momoa is kind of allowed to
right
be a
now
man's man,
but he's still like on the
No,
older
he's-
side. He's not exactly the person that
Yeah.
you pass the torch to. There's no one.
I can't think of anyone off the top of my head who would be like an example of like a
who's-
young
There isn't
man's
one.
man. in
What age
Hollywood.
Tom Cruise was when they filmed the original Top Gun? How old was he?
So it was like 36 years ago. He'd been in his mid-20s.
Yeah, like I can't think of one.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only guy that I feel like comes like remarkably close, which is interesting because they have kind of like the same like physique, is the Tom Hiddleston.
I knew
Hiddleston.
you were gonna
No,
say
the
that.
Spider-Man kid.
No,
Tom
Tom
Holland.
Holland.
Tom Holland,
I knew
my
you were
bad.
gonna say Tom Holland.
Because like they're
But
marketing the
no.
hell but that's what I'm saying
No.
that
Well, then what about
it's not
him?
him like.
Chris Hemsworth then.
No.
Because like he got embarrassed in the Avengers. He was like a pathetic, fat, depressed man, and like as a pathetic, fat, depressed man, like I don't want to demean us,
Okay.
but like I shouldn't be the leading actor either, But it's like no one, like there has to be a model,
Yep.
and like while the young guy he can be like a model for like being chivalrous and like being well spoken and likable. He's not a role model, and like he's badass.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, there aren't a lot of Schwarzeneggers or a lot of Stallones left in Hollywood.
I mean,
the
even-
ones that are like me and Mary talked about how they're oddly sexless. Like they're all weird, which is kind of part of the leading man. You said he dates hot women, he drives cool cars. Like there's like a weird kind of androgyny
A
to
Ken
their,
dollness to him.
And then there's also this where Jack Posobiec points out that he does believe that Disney is willing to take a loss on movies like this for the purpose of pushing an ideology. That's my problem. Tom Cruise is not willing to take a loss. He wants to make the fans happy.
Do you really think it was calculated that way?
I think that they don't see it as I think that they make so much from the parks and so much from the back end of these things, whether it's toys, that I think if this movie loses $200 million, if we're being honest, what is $200 million to Disney really? a company worth that much.
As much as we like the headline that's like, Disney's going broke, Netflix is going broke,
Exactly.
blah, blah, blah. Like, they never are.
Yeah, like you, and then he talks about here, he basically talks about how the Fed's been printing money and how that becomes like an investment for these companies through environmental social governance scores with Disney stock. I don't want to get into that stuff as much, but he goes down here and says, Disney views a financial loss on Lightyear as an investment in changing political culture, Posobiec determined. So they look at these as investments into shifting the culture forward in their direction, and that's why they push things like this, he said. Lightyear reportedly cost $200 million to make, which does not include promotional materials. So if you include that, that's 1.5 times its budget. That puts us at about $350 to $400 million they would have to make back just to break even. Right? Wow. So if they're willing to spend, who do I want to support? Do I want to support the guy who seems gracious in all that he does, whether honest or not, and makes a movie I want to see? Or do I want to see the company that's so willing to push a political ideology that they'll take a $400 million loss and just count it as good because they got to own the people they don't like? I don't buy that. Like, I don't want that.
Right.
And they didn't even own anyone because that faction doesn't exist.
And plus, it's like they just end up doing it to themselves because, like you said, they pushed it 14 countries banned or 12 countries banned it over a stupid scene that didn't need to be in there.
I know that it's a drive-by thing, like it's nothing, but also it's not nothing because they did, I'm sure, discuss that, put thought into it.
It was removed, and then they put it back in after backlash from Pixar
There was
employees.
a lot of stress over it. It's not just a nothing scene.
Yep.
They really cared about putting it in there.
And that's what bothers me. Like, to me, I don't care if that scene is in there, but I understand why some people do.
They put tremendous amounts of thought into putting it in the movie, which is why controversy even existed about it.
It's been like a company policy, like a company statement is like, we are going to put this in everything.
Yeah, Bob Chapek has said that they're doubling down on doing that right now. So I just see these as two different approaches, and I hope that in future people look to what Tom Cruise is doing. Whether you believe that he is 100% on the up and up and he really wants the best for you and your family, I don't buy it. But I want his model of Hollywood to be what prevails down the line. Or at least that's what I'd like to see.
Sorry, before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you something. So, like, I agree that, like, some of it might be genuine and some of it might be disingenuous, but, like, he still strikes me as a man who personally takes, like, the hero's journey very seriously within himself.
And he's very passionate about the art of filmmaking. So if he's not going to want to make movies he's not passionate about.
Right.
Yep.
And, like, often my ethics don't align with pretty much anyone. So they probably don't align with him, but, like, that fact in itself that he's still, like, trying, like, on this road of self-improvement.
Yeah.
And, like, everything that I've seen from him, like, from recordings is, like, we should be grateful, we should work hard and things like that. It's like, okay, maybe you're a little clown town on some things, but, like, in your core, you seem to be at least decent.
Yep. I don't know. We will see. Mary, would you rather see stuff like this? I'm assuming that's a yes, right?
Obviously. I just don't know if we will going forward, like you say you're hoping, because if there were a younger person or cohort of younger people to pass the torch on for stories like this, then we would be seeing them getting casted. Like, for instance, a perfect opportunity, casting someone as Ken, who is maybe in his 30s instead of his 40s.
Not Ryan Gosling,
right?
Yeah.
Not to like dunk on Ryan Gosling, but that's just evidence that there's nobody there.
Okay, I'll audition next time. I'm sorry. I'm just busy. I'm doing work.
He's got work to do.
What do you want me to do?
All right, let's move on. And do you want to lead this one in?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, go for it.
So, full disclosure before we start this, I'm not a fan of Umbrella Academy, but this is Netflix's biggest superhero franchise since Marvel properties went over to Disney Plus.
And screwing up Jupiter Ascending, which they did tremendously.
So, their first season, I believe, was in 2019. Then season 2 was in 2020. And they just dropped season 3 for Umbrella Academy yesterday. Elliot Page was playing the character of Vanya Hargreaves, number 7, or the White Violin. And in between the time that season 2 was dropped and season 3 was in the beginning stages of filming,
Thank you.
Elliot Page came out as transgender. This was when they were first filming the 3rd season, and it was like 4 months after they had dropped season 2. So they had the question of whether Elliot Page was going to continue playing Vanya Hargreaves, or were they going to just completely change the character, the already established character, into a transgender character to conform to, I guess, real life. I'm not sure why you would do that.
Which is a weird thing that's becoming a thing in Hollywood now, where everything has to, like, you're no longer acting, you're just portraying yourself on screen.
It's strange that question even needs to be posed, right?
I take enormous issue with this. Enormous issue with this.
Have you watched the show?
I don't think I have to. Because,
no. Admittedly, I've watched like the first episode.
I've watched the first episode and I was like, I fell asleep. So that's my review. But listen, I'm a big advocate of separating the art from the artist, and this is completely not that.
Just completely antithetical.
This is the artist throwing a tantrum, and this being like, my identity supersedes where this story was supposed to go.
Yeah.
My identity outside of this realm where the art is being held supersedes the fans that are following the story, the fans that were following the character, and it just seems so selfish. Like, it would be more dignified to be like, listen, I want to be true to myself. I am now a man, and thus I will remove myself from portraying women because I feel like women should play women's roles. I would have respected that. This is like, I don't know.
Why couldn't they just leave the character alone?
That's what I'm
you
saying.
Think, like, if you feel that deeply uncomfortable with playing a woman at that point, then you got to step out. But also, if you're looking for fairness in casting decisions and you want transgender actors to be treated like any other actors and considered equally, then show that you're capable of performing outside of that identity marker, you know?
And what's interesting about that is what Elliot Page will end up doing is raising the profile for the members of the transgender community that are acting. One of the biggest complaints that I had when they got mad at Scarlett Johansson when she was going to play a transgender, I don't remember if it was a transgender male or a transgender female.
It was a woman transitioning to a man.
Okay, so my issue with that was with them complaining was that, like, look, she is arguably at that time the biggest actress working today. Your movie will live and die on her name. Elliot Page will help do the same for the actual transgender community, because a lot of people's complaints was there isn't an actor who's actually transgender that would be able to play this role, because that was what their complaint was. They said Scarlett Johansson isn't actually transgender, so she can't play this role. What we have here...
I'm not actually Hamlet. Can I play Hamlet?
I'm trying to follow their logic.
Like, my father's not dead. Can I do it? Like, what are we saying?
I'm following their logic through, and I'm saying that if they want to raise their profile so that members of the transgender community can actually play these roles, Elliot Page will end up doing for this down the line. But that doesn't mean they needed to change this character.
Another conflict here is that this show is based on a comic. It's not an original creation. It's adapted from, actually, Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance's comic. I think he released it in like 2007. So these are characters that he created. Vanya Hargreaves is an already established character, and now they've decided to transition Vanya into Victor Hargreaves.
Is there any context, or is it just like, you're Victor now?
I mean, I haven't watched season 3 to see how they navigated it, but how it seems to me from the comments that Elliot Page has made so far, it seems like they were actually excited to incorporate this into the show. Like, it almost wasn't even a question.
Yeah.
So what she said to Seth Meyers, I think she was on Monday night with him. She said that their showrunner, Steve Blackman, seemed really excited to incorporate it into the show, and immediately brought on a transgender author named Thomas Page McBee on to assist them in incorporating this into the script. So
would it have been so wrong to just keep the character the same?
no, it wouldn't have been, and that's what I'm arguing for. At least it's just. It almost seems like they didn't even consider that. It was like immediately like, let's go. Let's bring this into the plot now.
And I'm sure that they see that as a great marketing opportunity for them.
Maybe they need that because
Possibly.
they don't have the backing of like having the Marvel name behind them or DC.
I mean, Umbrella Academy is a fairly
was huge.
popular property.
And again, it's a thing where like, so I attribute part of the failings of like Lightyear to like it was an ensemble cast in Toy Story, and then it's like not only made for, it's like he's not the protagonist. Buzz isn't the protagonist, but Buzz is like the foil to the protagonist.
Yeah.
And so they've made a movie about the foil. And this is a case where Elliot is part of the ensemble cast. And Elliot, doesn't, or the characters it's portraying doesn't control the narrative. But now it's kind of a thing you can't ignore it.
No.
Because like a lot of people binge watch shows. Like let's say in 10 years people are binge watching the show like as it's our American right, Like what are you like it's going to be so abrupt from one season to the other. It's like
right.
what I mean,
cuz
maybe they wrote it in and maybe it was like flawless and it'll be like study for generations, but like the way that the culture is and how we just throw things out there, like I just don't have no faith that it's done tastefully.
Also, you said separate the art from the... Thank you. Also, you said separate the art from the artist, and the problem here is that they don't want you to separate the art from the artist. They want the artist to be just as important as the people in the like they want the
art
actor
is the artist.
The actor wants to be just as important. One of my biggest issues right now is they're always talking is when they talk about the concept of like seeing yourself in somebody else. It's the most vain and self-obsessed thing you see from celebrities. Like, yes, I love being able to be a person that somebody else can see themselves in. Like, if you really break that down to what that phrase means, it's extremely narcissistic. Like, yes, I do represent all of people who look like me.
Right. So Elliot Page was also on Good Morning America yesterday and had to make the obligatory comment that the reaction has been really positive so far. She said, it makes me feel happy in terms of representation and hopefully it meaning something to people. But like, why does it need to mean anything to anyone?
They're obsessed with the idea that that what they're doing it's when I always complain about like when they talk about race and gender swapping in movies. I've never had real problems with that as long as they don't talk about it. I know I get a lot of crap for that. Like, look, if they pick a great actor and it's not including the times when that part of the character is super important. Like a lot of people like, well, you wouldn't race swap Black Panther. Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't because it's relevant to who that character is. Or like
a historical figure.
Or a historical figure.
Yeah.
So when it's not, I don't have as much of a problem with it as long as they don't talk as if they're saving the world and changing society because they tokenized a character.
And another thing is just like the cynical side. I'm sure when Netflix found out that Elliot Page was coming out, they were like, dollar signs, because they were like, welcome Victor Hargreaves to this
Free
story
marketing
that was already written
And
with a different character.
And that is truly like the most disgusting thing of all, that it's the commercial, this word is really hard for me.
Commercialization.
It's the commercialization of, a minority group.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like I wouldn't say give anything because like life likes to test you when you say that. But I would give a plenty of things for people to become self-aware and realize they are not speaking favorably for you. They are exploiting you for profit.
I think more and more people are catching on to that. At least from what I see, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram, I see a lot of people who who are members of the LGBTQ community that point out the absurdities of like Jude marketing and stuff like that. So I don't think that most are oblivious to that anymore, especially if you're cynical about the business side of these industries, which I would hope most people actually are.
I should hope so.
Yeah. So this is a bummer because to me, I would have liked to see where what they would have done.
It would have been really interesting if Elliot Page had continued playing Vanya.
But transition, yeah, exactly. But finished, gone through her transition.
Because your real life is your real life.
Exactly.
That has nothing to do with the show.
Nothing.
It doesn't need to conform to or reflect who you are as a person.
Makes no sense
At all.
that they want to talk about these things. It feels like they always kind of want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to both be able to portray these things in a certain way, but all does that make sense? Like,
Dude, not only does it make sense, they want to have their cake, vomit it into a plate,
yeah,
make you look at it and say, "Call it cake."
yeah,
Call it cake. And it's like, it's one thing in society, and it's another thing in, like, again, in art, because, like, art is meant to convey a period and a time, a theme, a message, and this again, I haven't seen the show, so, like, I don't want to be as extravagant and say, like, it's completely derailed everything, because maybe it hasn't, but
thank you.
Thank you.
in some way it does, because it's not all in one. It's not we're all in this together. It's like we're all in this together until it becomes slightly inconvenient for our personal identities.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question about it. Does this mean that Elliot Page should only be playing male characters now?
I mean, likely that's what Elliot Page only feels comfortable doing now, if this was an issue that had to be forced.
Because it wouldn't be very fair now to be able to play both. Like, I feel like that's what they should have done with this character.
That's why I drew the comparison to the Scarlett Johansson situation. Scarlett Johansson is a woman, identifies as a woman, but was perfectly willing to play the role of a man, and withdrew only because there was such an outcry about it that she was somehow displacing transgender actors or taking away opportunities and excluding them somehow by doing so.
Is Elliot Page excluding people by being able to play both roles?
And should we do the same thing? Should we be like, well, I'm not comfortable. I mean, only biological males should play biological males? Like, do we play that game?
Yeah, like a lot of children in
when does it stop?
They've in animation they have transitioned slowly into like they're like if you're voicing if you're a black character, you have to be voiced by a black actor. It didn't always used to be that, and vice versa. Black actors could voice white characters. It was never seen as a thing as long as you could do the voice justice.
What about if they're mixed race? Does it have to be like the exact same proportion? It's like, well, I'm actually 75% this and 25% the other, and you're only 50-50, and I find it offensive.
Exactly.
Like,
so
where does it end?
So where does that mean that following their own logic, should Elliot Page only be playing transgender characters, or should Elliot Page have to play who he has now identified as or gone through the operation, right? Has,
knows?
I guess, yeah. So that's interesting. Where does it go from here? Like, I don't know. Like, the lines are always so innocuous and
I love that word.
And it's always left very vague on purpose. It's done that way literally to muddy the waters with these discussions. So I think it's fascinating.
This has been an aspect of every interview about this new season, and it's just such an awkward thing to dance around the issue. It clearly makes the actor uncomfortable to have to answer for it, but it's like, you forced the issue.
Yeah.
You didn't have to change the character you played.
I feel like it would have gotten a lot of goodwill with a lot of people if they just left the character. If Elliot had transitioned and then just finished playing that character as the character was.
Right. I think that would have opened up more doors.
I agree. There's some super chats.
Yes. Waffle Sensei said, "Are we just going to pretend Tom Cruise isn't the patron saint of Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs Scientology?"
Look, you're not wrong. I'm not.
Brett's a Scientologist.
I'm not saying that you're not wrong there, but if we were going to excommunicate every person that we wanted to talk about or watch in Hollywood, or hope that they're doing good for the industry just because they believe in something you don't believe in, that would be all of them. So if the idea here is that I don't care about Tom Cruise's religion, I care about what he does for the industry of film, which I love, which I am passionate about. I will swallow my pride and let Tom Cruise have his religion, and I will just enjoy what. Every time I called it a religion before without doing that, people said it's a cult. It's not a religion. Whatever. I don't care. Does he make Top Gun cool? Does he? Yes.
He does.
Fantastic.
He does.
Is he going to hang off a building in the next Mission Impossible movie?
He will.
Yes. Perfect. I don't care if he survives it because he's a Scientologist. I just care that the movie looks cool.
K42X said, "Separate the artist from the character." Great words. Cutest. I don't know how to say that.
Boricua.
Bariqua.
That's you, Dane.
Thank you.
Waffle Sensei said, pathetic Elliot Page is not an actor. I can't
If
say
Elliot
that part.
cannot.
If Elliot cannot play a female character, she has a lot more experience as a woman, anyways.
I don't necessarily. I don't know.
Chronologically true.
I think that.
But I'm just saying it would open, like, if the goal, like, going off of what we're being told, if the goal is to open more doors for transgender identifying actors,
Yeah.
you would do that by playing Vanya.
Did you guys see the? I sent you the link to the trailer. They're literally making a. This is how hilarious Hollywood is now. They're making a movie called They Them.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
it's a slasher movie taking place at a gay conversion camp
Oh my God.
because it's 2022 and that's a thing.
Can I play devil's advocate for a second?
Yes.
So, in favor of Elliot Page, perhaps the reason
I don't think we've been negative. I think we've been questioning
know.
of. I don't think we've been in any way unfair.
I agree. I think this has been a very tepid and respectful conversation. But I just want to say, devil's advocating my own argument. Perhaps the reason Elliot did not want to play the role is because, despite the transitioning, Elliot kept getting typecasted, perhaps in roles of attractive women, and it's something Elliot wants to
Then perhaps that should start
remove
with the next role.
Elliot from himself.
Yeah. One more.
Joseph said these peeps have psychosis.
I'm not sure if Joseph means us or someone else, but
I hope it means us.
In both instances, probably right.
probably us. All right. So Dane, do you want to talk about? PlayStation?
Yes,
Go
yes,
for
yes.
it.
So, okay, let's set the stage. So, reading here the headline, PlayStation to skip Gamescom 2022. The company joins a growing list of publishers not attending this year. Sony has announced its decision to skip Gamescom 2022, adding PlayStation to the expanding list of publishers that will be making an appearance at the popular annual convention in Cologne, Germany. Okay. So, why are we talking about this?
Why are we talking about this?
Is Gamescom like a big deal?
Honestly, I've only heard it peripherally.
E3 level?
But if we're going to take this, I mean, it might be in Germany.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is a trend that is not only happening in gaming, but it's happening in every aspect of media. And I brought this to have a conversation with you guys and to have a conversation about chat if this is the direction where we should be heading. Because, okay, think of the Netflix of old, where you can truly find anything and everything there, because it was this conglomeration of pretty much anything you wanted to see. And compare it to Netflix now, that is in stark competition with Disney Plus, with Paramount, I think it's Plus too.
Paramount Plus, HBO Max,
Right.
Amazon Prime.
So it's a competition with all these things, and all these companies are well, Netflix is doing it, I can do it too.
So are a lot of these companies they're having their own events like
Right.
this.
And so Nintendo has something called that's Nintendo Direct,
Yep.
where they specifically, broadcast their games. Sometimes they even have something as niche as only for Pokemon which is one of their hugest IP.
I have a friend who goes to a lot of Pokemon convention type things. Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah.
Square Enix, which was the company that creates and publishes the game that we were talking about last week, Final Fantasy, recently had something similar for the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. And so this is a pattern that keeps presenting itself. But first, I want to present the positives of this.
Okay.
I'm sure you guys have heard of E3 by now.
Yes.
If you haven't, in the chat, E3 was a gaming convention where it was huge. A bunch of
Huge.
companies would put up their stands. They would put a bunch of hot girls that knew nothing of what was going on and be like, hey, come here and play this game.
Nor should they.
Nor should they.
No, they're not required.
Right. Yes, queen. And then,
Slay.
so they come here, they promote the games, people played all the games from all the companies, and then the interesting thing about when the event ended, it was who won E3? Who had the best appearance? Was it Sony? Was it Microsoft?
Yeah.
Was it Nintendo? What was the best individual game? What was the best indie game? And so it was all these things, and it became like a celebration of games in general. So that's the positives. The negative is a lot of great games get lost within all the noise of the big guys, like the A-listers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of companies, the pressure to make something incredible in E3 was such that companies will literally dedicate months, and I'm talking months, of the production time to exclusively work on E3 announcements and trailers, and then Tokyo Game Show announcements and trailers. And this is one of the biggest reasons why companies like Square Enix have had to delay their video games, because they make a version of the game exclusively to be demoed in E3, and it's basically created in an engine that won't be the actual engine where they're going to develop the game. And so they've just
Do you think that all of that hype for like creating trailers and demos for E3 made it so that the quality of their finished product was lower, or that it just was a time conflict?
In my opinion, probably both, but way more skewed towards time. There's a joke amongst the Final Fantasy community is whenever they announce, and by the way, it's never been wrong. Whenever they announce a game, add 2 years to it.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
There's been some games that have been delayed for a decade.
Yep.
Final Fantasy 15 was originally going to be Final Fantasy versus whatever. It was going to have some weird title. It was going to be very dark and introspective. And they literally delayed it for a decade to the point where it had to become 15.
But at that point, is that just lacking resources, investment, staff? What is that about?
I think a lot of it had to do with... So Final Fantasy 13 came. It was absolutely reprehensible. And if you like it, please politely leave. For real.
I'm going to have to stop Dane there and say, please do not politely leave.
Don't leave.
Please
just leave hate comments.
Please stay around and say negative stuff about Dane.
Please.
Don't worry, Brett. No one likes that game. So, no one will
well,
leave.
then your statement wasn't all that brash anyways.
Okay.
Well, sorry if I'm petty. Anyway, so they were really heading in a direction was we're gonna explore the universe, and it's gonna explore multiple stories within the universe. But then the universe came, and it's a humping pile of what. And I bet it was a bunch of wow, we just spent a bunch of money on this trailer. No one likes the original world where we're hosting it. So I bet it's a lot of data coming in and people analyzing. It's what the hell are we going to do? I bet a lot of it is that they spent a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of man hours on making an incredibly beautiful trailer that ultimately ends up in nothing.
So does that make it a good thing if they have their own conventions and they don't have to adhere to the timetable of whatever convention that you're whether we're talking about E3, whether we're talking about Gamescom? Is it better that they hold their own events and make their announcements on their own schedule? That's going to actually get you to product release better.
Here's the thing. If it's still gonna follow the format where our event is always at a set time, at a set place,
if it's the same time every year,
then isn't it just the same?
It's arbitrary, yeah.
However, what you do remove is the direct point of comparison.
Yeah.
Right. So it's no longer being compared to its predecessors within your brand. It's not necessarily being compared to your competitors. So that's the advantage in terms of the industry.
Disney does D3 and does a lot of releases for, and they do Star Wars. I forget what the Star Wars convention is. There's also DC does Fandom where they release their own trailers. Whereas that stuff used to always come out at Comic-Con. Now they spread them out and stuff. Granted, there's also a lot more stuff getting made, so they can still have their Comic-Con releases. I'm taking this over to an industry that I'm more familiar with, but they're a lot less. You're a lot less. Well, DC is not, but most of the film industry is better about getting their stuff out on time.
I'm also not as familiar with the video game industry, but to me, it seems like PlayStation or Nintendo, all these companies moving towards having their own like in-house conventions is sort of playing it safe and avoiding having to compete for people's attention.
Yep.
Which might make products lower quality. Like it ultimately is about what the people want, and even if E3 exerted too much pressure on companies and they ended up making poor decisions with releasing trailers and demos that didn't actually represent what they were creating, it maybe was better for like meritocratic competition.
Yeah, the best
than what's
buzz
going
comes
on
out
right
of
now.
it. Yeah.
It also reminds me of VidCon, just because VidCon started yesterday.
Yeah.
And it is kind of old school, you know, for an independent an independent company to come out and meet the need for all of these people to come together and talk about the industry, not just one conglomerate.
That's a good point. However, okay, so you do gain all those benefits. However, if let's say you actually have the best product, like you're having a game, it's revolutionary. Now you lose the buzz of like the winner of E3. You know what I'm saying? Like there were all these games, and like you reign supreme. And by the way, like the way like marketing teams do it is like the number one E3 game within this specific category and this specific date. You know, like they get really niche and specific, and ultimately, like you can, they all market it as like we won E3. Mm-hmm. So like they lost like that angle. I mean, but I kind of agree that like if your competition is yourself, then it's only as good as like your like the expectations that you set upon yourself. Yeah. But the tragedy about like the gaming industry itself, it's like, man, it's like really one of the most abusive industries there are.
As far as like the worker, yeah, absolutely.
Like there was a game that like famously outed themselves. It was called like Red Dead Revolver, and the publishing studio was called Rockstar Games.
Red Dead Redemption?
Yeah.
Is it like a spin-off of that?
No, it's Red Dead Redemption.
Wait.
You said Red Dead Revolver. Is that like some other thing that they
It's Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So the thing about when that game came out, I think it was
Crunch Time.
One of the head of the companies was like, guys, we're so happy this game came out. You don't know how many 16, 18-hour days we made our staff go through.
Yeah.
But at least they have unlimited menstruation days.
Yes.
Basically. And then people were like, excuse me, 16-hour days? And then the horror stories came out of people's like, yeah, I got divorced. Like, I had to live in my cubicle. I have like insane depression. And it's like, you know, like
it would be better for them to just hire like independent contractors than
delayed
an army of video game making slaves.
My favorite game of all time is called Xenogears, and like this game is like one of the most ambitious video games of all time, and it's divided in 2 discs. The last disc is literally almost not a game; it's a narration, because they were so dead set on releasing the game in time that they didn't have time to literally make the game. So
it just became like a weird
They are
movie.
telling you what happened, and then they takes you to the last dungeon, and you finish it, and you're like, what the hell happened?
Do you think a lot of what's going on here, these outcomes that COVID had anything to do with it? Because COVID killed a lot of these conventions for several years.
No, they were dying out. A lot of it was me too, actually. A lot of it was.
Oh yeah,
for real? Because of the girls.
The first pandemic.
Them, but also like think Vic Mignogna and like the anime conventions where they would talk about like all the bad behavior that people got up to there, which ends up just being a lot of hysterics and people like, look, okay, I skated for 25 years. I've been to conventions and to events all over. And, you know, people tend to be kind of, you know, because you're out of town, you're doing whatever. It's just adults get up to adult behavior when doing these things. And the stories you would hear about it became like Me Too stories from that industry.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of those guys like have a lot of power. Those game developers they have a lot of power.
They do.
Yeah.
But it originally came from the term that was used to like talk about those women wasn't models, it was booth babes.
Booth babes.
So they were like, well, this is very objectifying and yada yada, but it's like,
It's their job, though.
by the way, you know,
they love it. By the way,
yes, you know,
they
who
love
was
it.
the-
Same with the monster chicks for
Right.
Chicks is that offensive now? The women who used to do the race car, the car events and everything. They love it. It's everybody else telling them that they're not supposed to love it.
the biggest ambassadors against the Me Too movement,
Thank you.
specifically in that regard, were the booth babes themselves that were like, man, dorks are actually pretty friendly.
Yeah.
And like what they do was like either like creepily talk about the game, but they try to get us into it.
They want you to love it as much
Yeah.
as they do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And
kinda
like
sweet.
It
Yep.
it is sweet, and it's sweet that they put it that way.
It's like if you've ever been in a relationship and you're like, and you have something you're really passionate about, and you try to get your partner to like it, and you know that they're never going to like it the same way you like it, but you try, and your partner's like, "That's great, honey. That's fantastic."
And honestly, like being as beautiful as those girls are is hard, and and if
It's
they
a lot of work.
for real,
You know,
like
Dane. Personally.
I know, like I can no longer be a booth hunk, and like
Funk.
and if they can get compensated for it, like God bless, dude. Like get the money, honey.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Agreed.
saying? Like and so like not you're because of your like ridiculous like pandering to no one, because like everyone that agrees with you already agrees with you,
And nobody else actually cares.
the rest of us are like whatever. Like now you've put the people you're trying to protect in the unemployment
Thank
line.
you.
It's
Thank you.
absolutely ridiculous.
Dane's like, I'm not saying that I agree with booth babes, but I'm not anti booth babe. is what
Buddy,
Dane
I
was
agree
saying.
with booth babes.
team pro team booth babe.
For like F yeah. Why not?
So what do you think they should do? With conventions dying out, what do they do?
I think you shouldn't be exclusive. You should have your own thing and support those who are being like massive conglomerates. Like if you don't want to show like the big reveal and you want to make it during your thing, at least, I don't know, have the decency to like refer to like the community and like hint to it, like make a little teaser. Those aren't that hard to make. It doesn't take that many man hours. Like if you're already working like a 1 minute and 40-second trailer, drop a 15-second teaser.
Yeah.
Like really like captivate them and satiate their appetite. Like I think you can do both. From the marketing and public relations perspective, honestly, I'm a big fan of like keeping it, because here's another thing that can happen. So you're in A3. We've become DaneCom. Dane Games.
We're at DaneCon.
And we made I don't know, Brett and Dane's Excellent Adventure. And like, it's a game.
Sign me up for Brett and Dane's Excellent Adventure.
It's full of booth babes and like a bunch of cool
like
stuff.
Has Been Hotel, but with us.
Like Brett skates, I do whatever the hell I do. It's incredible. And then let's say we're revealing the game and everyone is like, a problem that has happened is the presenter is like, hey, wasn't that a stinker? Because like he's just trying to be funny in front of an audience. And that, from like a public relations perspective is like, bro, what are you doing? That cost $3 trillion.
Rival
There's
company.
a comment that's somewhat relevant. They said these people that work in the marketing department of gaming companies need to stay the hell off of Twitter and thinking that that's the majority of thought.
And can I tell you?
Because Twitter's not real life.
I have a lot of insider knowledge about this on a lot of companies, and I'm gonna be very careful about what I say because I don't want to talk about the company itself, but I have it on good authority that a lot of huge companies, the social media teams they hire is like daughters and girlfriends of publishers that do not care the slightest about the game, and everything they do is they Yas Queen it up.
Yep.
And this is the fandom that pushed back against all that BS. Like all the craziness started with Gamergate.
Yep.
And it was weirdos like us that were like, no, stay away from our games. We respect your opinions, or we respect whatever the hell you want to do elsewhere, please. And I don't know, like these pariahs like keep somehow entering the companies and once again making it about them and not the game.
Yep.
They're like Yoko Ono types. Of
For
gaming
real, that's a
industry.
perfect description.
Interesting.
Have you ever seen the meme of it's like Yoko Ono and was it John Lennon?
Yeah.
It's just them waiting for a maid to fix the bed that they were protesting on, and like yeah, I'll send it to you. It's great.
That's funny.
We had some super chats. So I'm gonna go through the
Yes.
super chats.
DizWiz sent 2,000, I believe they're won from South Korea. I just learned that today. Saying again, simping Brett with weird currency. Thank you for your weird currency.
Thank
dude.
you.
Hava Owens said, game companies are some of the biggest crooks.
The first thing that I thought of
That's true.
of recent memory was giving people the test footage for Cyberpunk 2077 on PC, but
Right.
not
I heard that game crashed a
Yeah,
ton.
not explaining
It was
that
just, like,
playing it on PS4 was
garbage.
essentially impossible.
Oh,
Right?
dude, there's a bunch of games. That's the unfortunate thing about games because like, so the funny thing is like the conferences are becoming very exclusive, but the games are becoming very like open-ended. So it's like
Yeah.
this game is out on here, on this or that, and usually when that happens, it's like a 60% chance that one of the ports is gonna be god awful. Like it's gonna be, but like I have Cyberpunk for the PlayStation 5, and I literally can't finish the game because
Yeah.
one of the main missions is glitched out.
Yeah.
So I can only play it to that point and be like, well,
That was fun.
okay, you know? And they keep patching it and ruining it, and like sometimes they fix it, but if you can't play your game from beginning to end upon purchase, like, buddy, what are we doing?
I seriously like I used to get a lot of like excitement out of just like it's kind of ghoulish, but I would love to listen to the Quartering just talk about all the bad stuff going on in the gaming industry because I'm just like, man, I am so glad that does not affect me. Thank goodness.
It's really like
Very frustrating.
gaming is like one of the most incestuous industries. Like absolutely, like they're all dating each other. They're
Well,
everyone.
that was a big problem with Gamergate was that you
Yeah,
know
exactly.
for how the articles get written and stuff like that. So
yeah, and it's still that way, by the way.
doesn't change.
And like,
Thank
the,
you.
the person's dating the
Thank you.
reporter, and then the CEO dating the person from the conference, and that's why they get the 8 p.m. instead of the 5 p.m. Like it's not very meritocratic, and that's where I'll leave it.
All right, Mary Moore.
Nathan Koss has a question for you, Dane. How do you feel about Bethesda recapping the past 5 years of space RPGs with their new title?
We
Knowledgeable
shall
about
see we shall see when it drops.
Also, Uncomfortable Chair sent some that aren't super chats, but I love them. Said, I'll never stop saying chicks. I love chicks. And then
Yes.
chick emojis.
Chicks rule.
I have I think I still say it a fairly decent amount, but because I tend to be very polite, or I try to be very polite. So I knew
It's
for a
better
fact
than some alternatives.
I
Is
knew
that a
it-
pejorative?
I knew it
Chicks?
would not
No.
I knew it would not offend Mary, but you know, with our large female fan base here, I'm sure yeah, I'm sure it upset at least one person.
Crispy Leg Transport LLC said, if any of you would like to donate me a PS5, I would be happy. Great show today. I'm sure you would be.
Well, thank you. I don't quite have the money for that, but thank you.
And they're impossible to get to.
Yeah.
Bryce Wilson said Cyberpunk 2077 makers made their employees work insane hours just to release a terribly made game.
It's a
So
bummer.
But you know what's interesting about that development team? Anita Sarkeesian, like the mobster she is, she was like, "Hey, your game has rumors of being like a little too controversial, and if you don't want consequences upon you,
You should hire
you should
me."
consider hiring
Yep.
some of us, and maybe the bad press will go away."
We're consultants.
It's
Right,
literally
consultants.
It's literally it's literally the gangster who walks into your like convenience store hitting his bat like this, going, "Sure would be a shame if somebody came in here and broke your display case.
Right.
But if you pay me this amount of money per month, I will gladly make sure that you're protected."
And in fairness, like one of the heads in the studios was like, "No,
Yeah.
we know who you are and we know what you do. We know how to make games." And I mean, that ended up being a lie, but like, I don't know. Peace be
Good
upon
for them,
him.
I guess. Waffle Sensei said, never ever release a video game before it's done or overrush the final product. I speak for all gamers when I say We will wait as long as it takes. Just give us the game you promised.
Yes, King.
Unavailable ID name said, Dane, I super chatted the other day about your opinions on the Dragon Age show, but you weren't here, my friend. Thoughts, predictions, overall feelings? Everyone's so curious about your thoughts on things.
It's
Do you want my job, Dane? You'll have to teach me the social media stuff if we want to switch, but
no thanks. It's man, it's the adaptation of a video game, thus it's gonna be horrible. That's my prediction. I'm sorry.
makes perfect sense. All right. We're going to go on and we're going to do Podluck, which we still don't have a theme song for, but I'm going to bring it up forever.
Potluck.
Say it again.
Potluck.
Perfect. Now
Thank
we got
you.
somebody just super chat and saying like, Dane, we need you to sing a full song.
Got
Says
it.
Kim Kardashian says some people didn't know who Marilyn Monroe was before the Met Gala. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
She did such a service to society. She basically put Marilyn Monroe
On the map.
She kind of invented a lot of girls in this industry. Like
Exactly.
Marilyn Monroe really needed the charity work.
There's a hilarious meme about like every girl before the age of 25 has at least one Marilyn Monroe poster up in her room at one point. It's like it's either standing over the grate with your hands on your knees or whatever the other famous one is. But who do you think is more famous?
Gosh.
Between who?
Maybe Kim Kardashian.
But the fact is they're close, at least as far as name
and
value.
it's more impressive because it was harder to get notoriety back then.
Exactly. So it says the reality TV star is still feeling the heat after she wore the Icon's legendary 1962 Happy Birthday JFK dress at the Met Gala 2022. I also read somewhere that she did not damage it, that it was not her who damaged it.
Who was it then?
I don't know. It was a
Tell me who it
thief
was.
in the night.
Who else wore it?
A thief in the night. It says, however, she says the short moment helped educate a whole generation of young people about Miss Monroe because many on social media had no clue who the blonde bombshell even was. Who, 12-year-olds?
I mean,
Basically.
probably, yeah.
Yeah. This was the most shocking thing to me, and that's why I was so happy to have that opportunity. They're always so happy to have this opportunity to be role models, and it's the most frustrating thing in the entire world. I'm so sick of celebrities being so proud and happy of the opportunity.
You wore a damn dress for 20 seconds.
Seconds, yes. And you couldn't even get the dress shut in the back.
Brave and bold.
Brave. They're all stunning and brave.
Stunning.
They're all so stunning. They're all so brave. They're all we're all just so lucky that we can see ourselves through them. I know when I look at Kim Kardashian, I see my reflection.
You see yourself in her.
I see myself. I see myself in her. And
Do you?
It says, I see Monroe as one of the most iconic people to have ever graced the American entertainment industry. She was an actor and singer and model and was one of the biggest and most popular sex symbols in the 1950s and early 60s. Admittedly, there have been loads of videos and social media showing interviews going up to young people and asking them to name the historical figures shown to them, and they fail spectacularly. Yeah, but how many got it right? That I ask you.
Here's my take on it. Yes, Kim Kardashian is a sex symbol. Marilyn Monroe is also a sex symbol. But if you were a sex symbol in the 50s or 60s, that meant more than becoming a sex symbol
Bro.
in the 2000s.
She
It just does.
had an open affair with the president. You are dating like a snob. Like
A
if you
Saturday Night
were a
Live
sex
nerd.
symbol because you were dating like the Da Vinci of our time. Now you're something else.
Yeah,
So,
and
my bad.
also,
Just
you know,
had to
to
say
add
that.
to
I
that,
thought there was more. I thought they were going to keep going.
No,
Marilyn
that's
Monroe
it.
came from nothing, and Kim Kardashian is a recipient of nepotism. Yes, she's made a lot for herself, to be fair.
I'm the one
but
who always pushes back on those arguments. It's the same thing when people say Donald Trump came. It was like his dad gave him $1 million. I'm like, you do know that like million and billion are like a different thing, right? So, but you're right. She came from an upbringing that allowed her to move forward with that.
Yeah. So overall, I just think it's trashy
we're
that
so
she would
close.
even like minimize Marilyn Monroe's influence like this.
We're so close to a pod.
We're super close to
a
crisis meter.
Gosh, okay.
Let's go.
So let's go. So she added, it was such a process. I showed up to the red carpet in a robe and slippers. They're talking about how she damaged the dress. Do you guys think that that she will be remembered more? Maybe she's more famous, but will she be remembered more fondly than Marilyn Monroe? That I do not believe.
Maybe that's because
Hell
she
no.
doesn't have the option to hide as much.
So yeah, that's possibly true as well. Also, we were going to talk the other day. What was the thing the other day you said that was that like there was like a moment on air that you sent me an article on? I can't remember what that was now.
About
the Kardashians, where she like looks at the camera, she like broke the fourth wall.
Oh yeah, because Khloe Kardashian has been getting a bunch of backlash about still tolerating Tristan Thompson cheating on her, and then they decided to have like a confessional scene with Kim where she's like going off on the haters, and she's like actually like threatening to come to their homes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That seems weirdly out of character for her.
Is it weirdly out of character?
Well,
because she is kind of an evil genius.
Well, I do believe she's an evil marketing genius in every sense of the word.
She's freaking brilliant.
And they decided to keep that in the show, but she literally was like saying like I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna come to your house, and then she cut herself off. But
I love the idea. It's like, oh no, Kim Kardashian's coming to my house. Whatever will I do?
Are we like $1 away?
We're like $1 away.
We're like $1 away.
Come on, guys.
I was thinking about donating.
We only need 1,300 won.
Oh, there it goes.
Yay!
Thank you.
Or is it stuck because of it's party time?
Is it party time?
I think we're good. I think could be. Remember, something got changed earlier with the currency conversion. So
we can blame Christopher Poole.
Yeah. There it goes. There it reset. We're good.
You scared me.
All right, Dane, you want to talk about Johnny Cage?
Yeah. Okay. So let me just read the headline. Johnny Cage actor might be teasing Mortal Kombat 12. By the way, given like previous history, we can take it as a certainty that this is what's happening. This company has done this exact same move for like the past 4 games. It's like, oh my god, someone accidentally said we were working on a project. Ah! Like, all
Please
leaks.
flip that.
Could you do that again?
Like all leaks are so fake. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Dane is very
I
happy.
love that. God.
It makes Dane so happy.
You know, cursing makes me happy too, and I wish I could be happy with you guys sometimes. You know, everyone like super chat at Tip Guys IRL and saying like we want pop culture crisis after hours uncensored because it would
so
revolutionize the world.
It would be fun to do something on the website where, like, you don't.
He's like, it would revolutionize the world, and Brett's like, it'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be decent.
But it would be awesome because I wish that you guys could hear the conversations we have before we go on.
I really don't want you guys to hear the conversations.
Not all of them. Definitely not all of them.
Definitely
There's
not all of them.
one of the most terrifying things we could ever do is no context conversations from here, where you just cut out something that somebody says and you're like, wow, that's awful.
Well, just wait. Once I expose everyone after I come out as a Fed.
Mary is the Fed.
Oh, no.
Mary is definitely
Just
the
wait.
Fed here. Okay, Johnny Cage, good. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just read. Andrew Bowen, the voice actor for Johnny Cage in the Mortal Kombat series, is back on a lot of Warner Bros. For something. In a now deleted tweet, hint hint, Bowen shared a video of the voice actor standing in the Warner Bros. Studio lot before staring at the camera with a mischievous grin. Like his character, mind you. In the latest in the series of tweets, Bowen has been sharing online on him working on something in Warner Bros. Lot.
Who remembers when they banned the OK symbol in the game because
oh my goodness.
Remember that? Do you want to explain that story? It's fantastic. It's a sign of the mental mental illness in
I'll
these industries.
concede that to you.
Basically, they Johnny Cage famously makes the OK hand gesture, and unfortunately,
How dare he?
yes,
I know.
It was then a bunch of people who have no context or idea of like what's actually reality and when isn't actually believe that there's like a bunch of like evil people around the world who use this as their rallying cry, and such.
Incredible.
And such. They removed it from the game because that's the world we live in now. Unbelievable.
Dudes memeing on the internet are literally powerful beyond my comprehension.
Meme magic.
Yeah,
Meme
yeah.
magic changed the world.
So, I mean, guys, this is Potluck. I'll keep it short. This is basically like a tacit admission that Mortal Kombat is coming. Sorry, Ed Boon, you did it again.
They're also, I believe, into working on the sequel to the movie as well. The
Oh man, I
yes.
didn't see the
And there-
last one. I heard it was dope sauce from Tim. He was like, dude, it was awesome.
I wouldn't go that
Dope sauce,
far.
huh?
Right?
Tim,
Me and Tim have very different tastes a lot of the time
Okay,
in
well,
movies.
Because when he doesn't like something, he is very straight up about saying how trash it is.
When he hates something, he hates
Yeah.
something. I'm one of those people that I
Like
never
me.
I never get through stuff that I hate. I just turn it off. So like if I'm 20 minutes in and I don't like it, it's you've lost your opportunity to win me back.
I
So-
quit Halo, the TV series, literally in 25 seconds.
Oh yeah. If you want to watch something really funny, watch the honest trailer for it, which they released a little bit ago, and it's pretty. I kid you not. They talk about Soren. They say he runs a libertarian hideout that runs so well they can make churros. And then and then they talk about like the strong black independent woman. Like they're actually pretty brutal on the show, and it's really really funty.
I gotta see it.
So all right, womp womp womp
Womp womp.
womp womp.
I'm excited for this one.
You can read this one.
Sure. Brad Pitt gets conned into hunting for fake buried treasure at his French mansion. The,
Sounds like he pulled a Shane Cashman.
the star said the experience left him feeling pretty foolish in the end.
You don't say. I do love the part here about the rebuke of like relatable celebrities. Is that what they were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, okay, maybe it's not a relatable celebrity culture because that doesn't exist, but it's the attempt at one. It's
Exactly.
failing.
Remember, they're always like, I was so proud to be a role model for all of these people. I'm so relatable. You're not relatable.
So
You're a
Brad-
gazillionaire and you haven't lived in the real. Now, remember, I don't use the money argument as that, but you've been walled off from like the average Joe for so long. The money has nothing to do with it, which is ironic because I'm like throwing money away as we do this. But like a lot of people, like they're rich. They have no idea what the real world is like. It's not just because they have money. It's because they literally don't come into contact with the average person on a daily basis, like somebody does if they don't live in that industry, if they don't live in that bubble. So I push back on the term relatable celebrity culture. That's not a thing. Continue.
Yeah. So he was in an interview with GQ on Wednesday where he said that he was searching for millions of dollars worth of gold left by his French villa's medieval owners that had been taken from the Levant during the Crusades and buried on the grounds. He said, I got obsessed. He acquired radar equipment to hunt for the loot. He said, for a year, this was all I could think about. Just the excitement of it all. Maybe it has something to do with where I grew up, because in the Ozark Mountains, there were always stories of hidden caches of gold.
Amazingly, Shane Cashman will have new stories about that coming soon, I am sure.
Really?
Actually, sooner than you guys think.
Inverted world.
He said it was just the hunt that was exciting. I'm just picturing Angelina Jolie being like,
Let's do it.
please sleep with me. And he's like,
I'm busy.
no, I'm trying to find the Crusaders' gold.
Like the meme is like, babe, please.
He's like running around with a metal detector.
And she's just like, ugh. It's like, and then like when he's done, he gives up, and then he goes and tries to, and she's like, I got a headache now.
It makes me
Leave
like him
alone.
more.
Yeah.
You know, that he still has that jovialness and that, I can't say the word because Mary hates it, but like that Joey does that where he like,
Effervescence.
Is that what you're talking about?
maybe.
So I am picturing him like walking around his house with a metal detector, and his wife and kids are just like, Dad's doing it
Stop.
again. Stop.
I think
Please
it's
stop.
just hilarious that the guy who sold him this villa completely just bold-faced lied to him.
Or like
And he was like, sold.
When I'm a millionaire, you know, affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I would love to do that. Like, that is now one of my goals. Buy a property and make some outlandish story. It was like, hey, my fairies actually own this home for generations, and we hit gold here. I can't tell you where it is, but I can't keep it. May God, like, smile upon your family and, like, leave.
No, you give him a fake map on where to find it.
Just, like, grab him
X
by the face,
marks
kiss
the
him,
spot.
kiss whoever,
Yeah.
he, she, and then she can be like, it's up to you now. And
Do
leave.
it. It's beautiful. It becomes an episode of like Uncharted.
He just
Okay.
excavates inside the house.
Okay, no one in chat say anything whenever I become a millionaire in real estate. Promise me.
We shall not.
Okay,
We shall not.
we're good.
All right, Dane. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh no, we got super chats. We got
Well,
super chats.
Yeah, we do.
Go for it.
Should I leave?
No, I
No,
always
just wait.
if Mary was not here, I would always forget the super chats. And yes, thank you.
Crispy Leg Transport LLC said, "Have you done a review on a show called Invasion on Apple TV?"
We have
No,
not.
we have not.
I don't.
I haven't heard of that.
Apple TV is like the one I don't have. I would have to. A lot of the Apple TV
There's
stuff.
just too many.
What's the one? There's the one with. No, I'm not gonna be able to remember. That's fine. Nothing on Apple TV has really interested me all that much. But if it sounds good, if that's a recommendation, maybe we should.
Javi J. Okay, I still don't know how to pronounce this.
Boricua. Yeah.
Oi mi Boricua and patron saint of White Boy Summer.
Thank you.
I'm a Mexican moving out of California, and I need to know where to take my mad burrito skills. Love what you're doing, Mary. Brett's okay too. Wow.
That's my very own.
That's your womp womp.
Put that on your LinkedIn. Okay, too.
Don't take it personal, Brett.
I'm okay.
They're just simping.
That's. Thank you. I think I'm gonna go cry in the corner.
My brother in Christ. The DMV area has atrocious Mexican food. It is your destiny to come over here, open a restaurant, and share the food of your people. Please. Please. Please.
And thank you.
And thank you.
And you won't need to enjoy a Cali burrito as Brett
Oh
always
my
says.
God. I would never.
We can enjoy a DMV burrito.
District Taco is crimes against humanity.
Okay. Unavailable ID name said, the same thing happened with Post Malone fans saying he put Ozzy Osbourne on the map. Marilyn worked for fame. Kim got famous for a tape and her family.
And being a ridiculous.
Remember Ozzy
businesswoman.
Osbourne's song
It
with
wasn't.
Post Malone, where at the beginning Ozzy Osbourne just like kind of sounds like an ancient lizard coming out of an eggshell, like, like that was just a weird moment in time, but it was a good enough song.
Ozzy Osbourne and family that's a weird part of American culture that we don't really talk about that much.
He sounded like a Land Before Time dinosaur coming out of his eggshell. Anyway, Waffle Sensei said, it's party time.
Yes,
Thank you for partying with us.
Thank you.
Caper2X said, back on the Mary's Spider-Gwen cosplay.
Thank
Gwen
you.
Stacy dies on the cannon bread. What are your dastardly intentions towards our fed Princess of Darkness?
Oh my God, that's your new title.
I have
Princess of Darkness.
I have no dark intentions.
Lieutenant Punisher 666, wow, said Severance on Apple TV is amazing.
I've heard really good things about Severance as well as Succession. I watched season 1 of Succession but have not watched the further seasons. I'm rewatching Prison Break right now. That's what I do at night. I'm so tired from work. I rewatch old stuff.
Why don't you watch Survivor?
Because I don't want to watch Survivor.
Okay.
I would rather watch Total Drama Island than Survivor because that's my generation.
Well, guys, this is my last appearance on Pop Culture Crisis. I hope you enjoyed.
Never to be seen again.
Never.
No.
Dane, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
At Dane Fun on Twitter. And like if I can, I know like my thing is like at Dane Fun on Twitter past, but like I'm actually Honk the marketing guy here, and I like to talk about like a couple of projects that we got. For the central hub for everything is timcast.com. You can find things about Pop Culture Crisis, IRL, Inverted Worlds, Cast Castle, and a bunch of fun stuff. So whenever you want to see anything and everything about us, I head over there. And I just want to say one of our podcasts that has been pretty silent recently is going to make a sudden reappearance. And I'd like for all of you to pay attention to it because what we're working on is like truly incredible, and I think you guys are gonna love it. And that's all I say.
You can't list the name of said podcast?
Inverted Worlds.
I was gonna say it's
Yes.
Sorry,
Tales from the Inverted World.
Yeah. Tales from the Inverted Worlds with my good friend Shane Cashman.
All right, Mary, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram and WeChat at Closer Kitty, and whenever I post articles on timcast.com, like the one I did today about Elliot Page, I promote them there.
Perfect. Guys, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. For the show here, Monday through Friday, youtube.com. That is at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We are also on social media. We're on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Tomorrow, we will be back live with Seamus Coughlin here, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Living legend.
We will see you then, guys. Bye.
Bye.